Come, come, ye saints, no toil nor labor fee.
Goodbye, I Love You, which she may mention more of, I don't know today or not. She also wrote the book No More Goodbyes, Circling the Wagons Around Our Gay Loved Ones, which has touched the lives of many of you and my family as well. And she's the mother of 4 children and comes from California. Carolyn.
Thank you so much. And thanks to the musicians for that really lovely rendition of my poem. Thanks to everybody here who has worked hard to make this event happen. Thanks to my friend Mitch, I appreciate always hearing his words. And thanks to the community of Christ for being our good host here. So there was this large monastery, and there were many, many, many monks who had been for who knows how long scurrying around, copying the Holy Book, copying. And a new monk comes on the scene and he says, "Brethren, you seem to have been here for a very, very long time, copying the holy words, and as far as I can tell, copying the copies. And are you really sure that you're getting down correctly what the original had to say?" And the head monk said, "Well, you do have a point there. I will now take it upon myself to go down to the basement where we have stored the originals of our holy writings here, and I will just check and make sure we are doing it right." So the head monk goes down to the basement, and he's down there a very, very long time. And the other monks are getting very agitated, and then in a while the head monk comes up from the basement sobbing, and they say, "Oh my gosh, what's the matter?" And he says, "The word was celebrate." For those who did not get that, not celebrate, but celebrate. There are, oh good, okay. There are 2 points that I would like to draw from that charming little story. The first one, the importance of celebrating. I hope that all of us really understand, or are at least beginning to understand, the remarkable time in which we live at present regarding our gay brothers and sisters, and that it is indeed a time that asks us to celebrate. I have a personal habit of liking to rise up above the ground in what I call my spiritual helicopter, and just kind of looking around. Here's where we are right now. Here's where I am in my life. Here's where the human family is in our journey together. Here's history. This is where we have come from. And here's the future that we're creating. And to look at history through the lens that we are, the subject that we are addressing today should give us great cause to celebrate. Back here, we are able to celebrate the distance that we have come, for example, on racial issues, and we do celebrate that every Martin Luther King Day and then various other times. But back then, it was just the way that human consciousness was, the place where human consciousness was, that of course slavery is just the way it is. That's just the way it is. And in 1807, when William Wilberforce, isn't that a great movie? Did you see the movie Amazing Grace? So when Wilbur and other equally committed and enlightened and energetic people went against all odds to say, wait, no, we're not going to do slavery anymore. That was a shocking thought. And now we can see other places along that particular journey where here segregation, I mean, the fact that segregation should not be was also shocking to a lot of people. And looking at The Help, the movie, or reading the book, and then realizing, my gosh, that was only a few decades ago that happened. So we can see the history of things racial and celebrate the distance that we have come, which of course we can do also for women. You know, it wasn't too many centuries ago that people, meaning men, discovered or recognized the rather shocking thought that women have souls. I mean, we had fallen really a far distance from when Jesus taught his radical feminist kinds of teaching, where indeed we thought that women did not have souls, and then that was a pretty shocking thought. And then to see that develop, and to see that in 1920 we passed the suffrage amendment, we can celebrate all that, and we can look back and say, my gosh, what were they thinking? Couldn't they see? Well, no, they could not see. And today we're at a similar point where no, people cannot see. And it is a shocking thing to suggest that gay and lesbian people ought to have an equal and a respected place at the table, internationally, in our own country here, and yes, in our own church. That's a very shocking thought for a lot of people. But the fact that the thought is there, and the fact that we can see history and we know where history is going, should give us extraordinary cause to celebrate. And so I am here today to celebrate with you the fact that we are here together talking about these really important things and celebrating these really important things. In 1984, when my former husband passed away, there was never a thought that in a few decades in Washington, D.C., marriage between two people of the same gender will be legal. Never crossed anybody's mind. Or even that in the Mormon church, we would have the kinds of conversations and the experience that Mitch is now experiencing, and then many other people are just individually experiencing new place, new thinking, new everything regarding our gay and lesbian brothers and sisters. And so I personally want to celebrate that with you with all my heart. And just a few weeks ago, you know, these things keep kind of piling up. And there's a burst of this and a burst of that. So just a couple of weeks ago, there was, as many of you know, this kind of remarkable panel of BYU gay students sponsored by the Department of Sociology there. And then just, 24 hours after that or something, the release on YouTube of It Gets Better at BYU, which I think probably in a few days will get to the 500,000 mark of hits. Who'd have thought that would happen? Now, as I was watching those things happening, and a number of other things kind of in that same week, I wrote to a number of friends by email, two of whom are church leaders. I wrote, okay, the eagle has landed, the 100th monkey has appeared, critical mass has been reached, the tipping point is here, and there is no going back. Well, I celebrate that. I think that is, yes. That is indeed cause for celebration. Okay, the other point that I really want to take from that little story about the monks is this: we got to stop copying the copies. We got to go down to the basement to see what's really there. We have for a very long time on a lot of things, and certainly about, so what about this thing called homosexuality in a religious context? What about this? Well, so we've been copying those copies for quite a long time now. And what would we find if we were brave enough to go down to the basement, as our head monk did, to see what do the originals really say? Well, in this case, I mean, the real original would be the mind of God. And we do have access to that in as much as we sincerely seek. Another way to look at the original in the basement is what we would find in our own hearts, and to be able to trust that. But another more possibly universally accessible way might be to just look at those holy books themselves. And we know that there are, half a dozen or so places in our Bible that have been interpreted as commenting on homosexuality, and certainly commenting in a negative way. Anybody who is aware these days, however, must know that a lot of biblical scholarship is being devoted, well, to a number of things, but to what we're speaking of now, to looking at those particular places in the scripture to say what was really intended there and what does that mean for us. Now, just for example, to take the story of Sodom, which is one of the, the story that has been most condemning, which we have all thought, oh, of course we know what that is, rampant homosexuality, God destroys the city. Well, let's go down to the basement and see what that really means. And biblical scholars these days, those that I have read, are pretty clear that in other scriptures, homosexuality is never cited as the reason that God destroyed Sodom. And you know what is cited? Inhospitality. Ezekiel says, "Behold, this was the guilt of your sister Sodom. She and her daughters had pride, surfeited food, and prosperous ease, but did not aid the poor and needy. They were haughty and did abominable things before me." In Isaiah, we read lack of justice, Proverbs, inhospitality, Deuteronomy, pride and inhospitality. Now, our own Hugh Nibley, whom I happen to still have a great deal of respect for, he writes in Approaching Zion, Satan decoys our minds with false words and appearances. A favorite trick is to put the whole blame on sex. Sex can be a pernicious appetite, but it runs a poor second to the other. For example, we are wont to think of Sodom as the original sex pot, but according to all accounts, quote, "This was the iniquity of thy sister Sodom, that great wealth made her people cruel and self-righteous." The worst sinners, he says, according to Jesus, are not the harlots and publicans, but the righteous leaders with their insistence on proper dress and grooming, their careful observance of all the rules, their precious concern for status symbols, their strict legality, their pious patriotism. Well, we could find a very interesting conversation about those last two words, couldn't we? Whoa. Pious patriotism. So I think all of us know by now that all of those rules in Leviticus cannot possibly be rules that we want to have in our lives today. Just the day before I left, I read in the Ohana News, which Affirmation people here, sometimes many of you might receive that, quoted a very interesting little list of statements. And here's the one that interested me. To condemn homosexuality, you must use parts of the Bible you don't yourself obey. Anyone who obeyed every part of Leviticus would rightly be put in prison. Only one of those things that are banned in Leviticus, of course, is the eating of shellfish, plus a lot of other ridiculous things. Now, okay, so yesterday, here was my experience. My dear new friend Todd, wake up Todd, took me out to lunch yesterday, and we went to this nice place. And you know Leviticus says you're not supposed to eat shellfish. Todd ordered a shrimp sandwich. So I had to sit there with my dear gay friend, who in fact has a partner, and I had to sit there and look across the table at two abominations at the very same time. So in leaving this story about copying the copies, let us leave it with the word in our mind, the requests and the awful lot of consideration, and that word is inhospitality. Meaning, who do we know in this world that is being inhospitable? Who is reenacting the major sin of Sodom? And I would just leave that word in your mind to consider and to have conversation in the car and when you get home. Let us not be guilty, and let us do everything we can to assist our institutions in ceasing to be guilty of the sin of Sodom, which is the sin of inhospitality. Now, Mitch has done a good thing for us in bringing up some possible better ways to view the experience of homosexuality. As perhaps a test, not necessarily for you, but for me, for those of us who do not experience homosexuality. I have maybe 10 minutes left, which is not nearly what I would wish that I had, to offer another way to look at this, to consider the possibility that coming into this world as a gay or lesbian person might be just a different kind of a calling. When I spoke at this same conference in Salt Lake City in November, my general title was The Hero's Journey of the Gay and Lesbian Mormon. I have been fascinated by the way Joseph Campbell, our preeminent mythologist, has mapped out the hero's journey. And perhaps all of us, if we become aware, are called to some kind of a hero's journey. And I will take just a few minutes to, more quickly than I would like to, but wanting to give you some kind of a possible new framework to see your own life experience as a gay or lesbian person. To see it in this unusual light that I know has never been presented to you in Sunday school. There are particular steps that Joseph Campbell outlines as the journey of the hero. And you know, this is something that is mapped out in many of our great movies that we watch and stories, because it resonates with us, the arc that the hero has to travel. So number one is the ordinary world. And for you, the gay or lesbian person, your ordinary world is your Mormon tribe, safe, going to Sunday school, singing the nice little songs in primary, learning about what you're going to be when you grow up as a priesthood holder, as a woman, you will marry. All of that good, safe stuff in your ordinary world. Step number two, you're called to adventure. Well, it hasn't been put that way to you, has it? When you discovered that you had a difference that was very startling to you. When you discovered, oh my gosh, I'm a girl and I like girls the way I'm supposed to like boys. I'm a boy and I like boys the way I'm supposed to like girls. That's the call to adventure. Number three, refusal of the call. Have any of you refused that call? How many years and how much agony have you spent refusing that call? Step four, meeting with the mentor. Well, maybe you heard a podcast by BYU scientist Bill Bradshaw. Maybe you discovered that your choir director or your drama teacher was a gay person, really a good, cool person oh, well, this is the journey that they're on. Or maybe you read something. Maybe you read Goodbye, I Love You, or something that gave you a little different look at this whole journey. Step five, crossing the threshold. Oh, here maybe you fell in love for the first time. And it was terrible and it was wonderful. And it didn't really work out very well, but you knew that there was something there that spoke to you in a very, very deep way. And you knew that for good or for ill, a part of your identity, not all of it, but a part of it, is the way you respond and the person with whom you will fall in love. Step six, the Campbell calls tests, allies, and enemies. Boy, here you step outside the safe boundaries of family, of church. And you know, this can be very, very shocking for someone to jump into the gay, well, these are silly words that we use, gay lifestyle, gay community, gay experience, whatever. But to move from the safety of where you have been to this new world can be a very, very shocking kind of thing. I think I want to just read to you a few words that Joseph Campbell uses about this step number 6. We seekers are in shock. And I would suggest, you know, the nice little innocent gay Mormon gay or lesbian Mormon person would be in shock sometimes in encountering a whole new world there. This new world is so different from the home we've always known. Not only are the terrain and the local residents different, the rules of this place are strange as they can be. Different things are valued here. Strange creatures jump out at you. Think fast. Don't eat that. It could be poison. The offering of what sometimes you might experience in, quote, the gay life can be an unhealthy kind of thing, can be an unusually materialistic kind of thing, can be a promiscuous kind of invitation, can be something that is not really what you bargained for, but here it is, and how do I navigate this territory? Now, hopefully, you navigate it having put in your hand cart a lot of the values that were good values that you received, and finding friends, LDS friends, or friends of a whole other background who have some values that are in a lot of ways consistent with the values that you personally have come to treasure because they feel correct in you. So, step then number 7, approach to the inmost cave, and number 8, the supreme ordeal. I venture to say that most of you have gone through what you might call the supreme ordeal of being in the cave where you have to be alone, where you meet death itself, where you rehear all of the words of condemnation and of death that you have heard throughout your life, of the abominable being that you are, or the good person that you can be if you put away the temptation that you seem to have been afflicted with. All of those very dark labels that have been placed on you, and that for many people are more than they can bear. And it is in this step, the supreme ordeal, that too many of our gay and lesbian brothers and sisters have taken their own lives because they have believed the worst of what has been said to them and about them. And for that we should be and must be very, very, the word isn't even apologetic, it's, I don't have a good word for it. It's being so full of shame and so full of regret for what we as a body, as a religious organization, church family, have done to our gay brothers and sisters, that we can hardly believe that we were part of that. But in this step, in the supreme ordeal, comes the point of listening, not out there, but in here, and knowing that you are a perfect child of God, as you are. And number 9, receiving the reward. Number 10, the road back. Back? I don't want to go back. Joseph Campbell insisted we go back to our original tribe. Not necessarily to stay there, to live there, but to make peace there. Step 11, resurrection. And Joseph Campbell explains this as being, as leaving behind the bad effects of this journey, of forgiving, of remembering the good things that our tribe has given us, and being willing to re-engage with the tribe on some level, spiritually, psychically, physically, because, which we can do in that number 12, we have returned with the elixir being that substance capable of curing all ills, that only substance being love. So inasmuch as you, the gay lesbian person, I invite you to consider your journey in a whole new lens. What if you are being called from the tribe to go on the hero's journey and to come back with something very important that your tribe needs? We know that gay and lesbian people have sort of double vision, can see things that the rest of us can't see. So I invite you to see yourself in this new way and to say, what if I am being called to be a hero? And believe me, your tribe, my tribe, we need all the heroes that we can get. Concluding now, I just want to remind all of us that as we move forward in making our world, our church, safer for our gay and lesbian people, and I think Mitch was suggesting this, that we behave as if what we want has already been accomplished, and that's the way to accomplish it. And to do it not, well, yesterday, Todd and I stopped at the wonderful Martin Luther King Memorial. And how I love all of those statements that are there. What a brilliant man. He should have been made a general authority. What a prophet. I mean, what a true prophet in every absolute sense of the word. Now, Brother King is not remembered for saying, I have a grievance. We love him for saying, I have a dream. Now, how much more attractive is a dream than a grievance? Now, everybody here has plenty of reason to have plenty of grievances. That's not very attractive. Whining is not very attractive. So may it be that all of us can remember the word that I asked you to think about as I began here. The word, come up from the basement and say, oh, yes, the word is celebrate. Let us make sure that our vision of the future we truly celebrate, and that our actions today reflect a celebratory personality. Now, that would make us irresistible, wouldn't it? If we go around celebrating in front of everybody, how can they do anything but love us? And I want to conclude with the last two paragraphs of my book, No More Goodbyes. And I hope that all of you have read this, just because I know that it has been so useful to so many people. But to remind us now how connected we are. And at the end I have used, the wonderful story of Brigham Young sending out the handguard companies, sending out the rescue companies to bring in those people who are on the plains. Likening that to many gay and lesbian people who are still on the plains. The call goes out not only to the Mormon part of God's family, but to every other Christian, to Jews, to Muslims, to Buddhists, to Hindus, to all our cousins everywhere. Just now, as I wrote again and put in italics those pressing words of Brigham Young mobilizing the rescue party, go and bring in those people now on the plains, I realize I am speaking not only of those who have been harmed, but also of those who harm. All of us who have, in our arrogance, judged one another unkindly, looked at each other through the eyes of fear rather than the eyes of love, we too are out on the plains in a harsh winter, cold and without nourishment. And so I have to issue the same call to our gay friends and to their families and to every other group of people who have been misunderstood and abused. I ask you also to fill your wagons. Fill them with courage, with forgiveness, with patience, with exemplary behavior, and with unwavering insistence that we can, we must, and we will move to higher ground. We take turns then, don't we? When you are caught on any plane where love is not, I will gather what I have and bring what I can. And when I have used up all my love and am stranded in the cold, I will watch for you to appear with fresh supplies. That way we can make it, I think, all of us. We can be sufficiently creative and sufficiently kind that we will draw circle upon circle upon circle, bringing each other in, leaving no one out, joining, linking, enlarging, until the pattern of the whole human family, seen through the eye of God, is complete. Wow, and then what a thing to celebrate. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mitch and Carolyn. Thank you so much. And thanks for the choir. That was beautiful. That really touched me. Thank you. Real quick, we had a Facebook ad that we put out on Facebook, and we want to know by, I guess, the raise of hands, if you'll just quickly, how many of you guys saw that Facebook ad when you were on Facebook? Anybody? Just a handful? Okay. How many? You want? That good? Okay. All right. It's almost break time. Real quickly, I've been told that we actually have assigned our breakout sessions. So if we have 3 of them. The first one, navigating the issues of homosexuality and same-sex attraction while going to church. John Burleson, Tristan Hawley, and Randall Thacker will be doing that one in the library, correct? Which is right back there. Marriage equality and what it means for LGBT Mormons and their families with Hugo Salinas, Kate Kelly, Sharon Groves, and Senator Jamie Raskin. Thank you, Senator Raskin, for coming. That will be held here in the sanctuary, here, right here. And our third breakout is Being Lesbian and Mormon, and that is going to be with Carrie Moore and Tina Peterson. That is going to be held upstairs in the celestial room. I'm just kidding. No, right upstairs. So we will, that's right, go girls. All right, so we'll have about a 25-minute break. Meet back in your chosen breakout that you want to, and listen for my bell, I'll be ringing it. So there you go. Thank you.